Ben, did you have a specific show?
I have a few specific shows.
Well, that you see, that's not specific. That's called general. We have different words in the English language to describe different things. You've gone for a general.
I clicked
Ben
off my
Ben
list.
Ben
I
didn't have a
two
specific
more that
All right, here we go.
All right, go on then. I'll tell you what, if you've got two more, I've also got my love letter, which I will do in a minute.
I've got four more.
Oh, Ben, come on.
I've got four more.
No.
I have four more of which three are a crossing glance.
All right, that's fine.
It isn't one I'm going to talk about as well.
It's fair enough.
What?
Isn't one I'm going to talk about as well? Because haven't you got Food Wars on there?
No, I don't have Food Wars on mine.
No, Alastair was going to talk.
I mean, no, I wasn't planning to talk about Food Wars, but I can join in.
Tell you, Ben, we may as well put a dent in the fucking armor. Let's go.
I dare say, boys, for regular podcast, we still have 2 hours. We're halfway through, and we've touched about 5.
No, I know. I'm just getting mad because I thought we were only bringing one bit of material, so I'm furiously googling.
Feel free to do so. Most of mine aren't big discussions.
Glance over them then. Go for it.
I'll throw some out there. Yeah. Well, the first one is just more of an excuse for me to talk about it, but it's Sakuraso no Pet no Kanojo, which is a light novel adaptation into a show.
The Pet Girl of Sakuraso.
Yes.
Yes. Hugh does speak Japanese.
Oh, fuck, he does.
Well, I have also seen the show as well.
Okay, that's a good. There we go. Alright, there we go. That is a lot better.
I've seen this one as well, so I'm good.
Even if I did speak Japanese, the way you butchered that pronunciation means that I still wouldn't have understood it.
Hugh.
Sumi Masenza, fucker, you say.
I'm fucking Northern English. All I can say is, where's the Gregs? Without bring it.
Sumimasen, Gregs wa doko da?
Going down to Shopstar.
Sumimasen, Gregs doko.
Okay, can we move on to the points now,
Yeah,
Ben?
Pet Girl of Sakuraso, Ben.
So Sakuraso, it's a good show that goes decently in depth as to its points and everything it says in the show, and manages to hold itself in a very funny and decent adaptation way, while still not adapting anywhere near the amount of light novels there are, but still ending in a satisfying way. It's kind of a cliffhanger, but at the same time, it ends in a fashion that's, I'm happy with this ending and I'm satisfied with it.
If you didn't know there were more light novels, you might not have even realised.
If you didn't know there were more light novels,
I thought the story was done. Like, I'm literally saying,
exactly.
Hey, wait, there's more?
Exactly, and also, here's the other thing. It's not a show that necessarily lends itself to, this is a light novel.
No, it doesn't.
No,
it doesn't seem to have the arcs that a lot of light novels
everything
have.
intertwines, and all of the arcs are then brought up again later, because everything meshes into its own story.
How many light novels does the anime cover?
I don't know. They're not all translated, so... And I don't think any are translated officially.
None are translated officially.
Like, there are literally probably about 10 light novels that are translated officially.
There are 13 volumes of the light novel. I will keep looking for this if you guys want to keep talking.
I believe the anime only adapts, like, the first 1 3/4. And so that's... That you're not even touching on 1/10 of the content that it has. And yet it does it in such a way that you're still satisfied and happy with the ending. But if there was a season 2, it could lead into it well. And you don't feel like the entire thing is specified into arcs cut down in that sort of way. The way that everyone said before, oh, I can tell when it's a light novel adaptation every time. This certainly is one of the reasons I said, no, I can't. Because I left this show going, wait, that was a light novel?
The show covers up to the 6th volume.
Oh, does it actually? Fuck, that's way further than I thought.
Well, I mean, it is 25 episodes, so...
It is 25 episodes. It's got 4 volumes left and 3 side stories.
Okay. But still,
But I agree with you. It doesn't feel like a light novel adaptation.
No.
it doesn't feel like it, which is a great thing. And it manages to still pull itself as a fairly a great show to watch, with serious moments and serious points and funny moments that make you feel happy about yourself. And it comes around and it finishes in a way that is very much I'm happy with this ending, but at the same time I also can see easily a season 2 working into this. But it doesn't feel like it's purposefully set up to, we can get season 2, boys! Oh!
Well, it does a lot of what a lot of light novel adaptations do, where they try and give some kind of conclusion at the end of the season because they know that second seasons are so rare. Like, it's what ReZero did, where it's like it doesn't even touch upon the next arc. It just kind of gives you a resolution.
Well, ReZero is one of those ones where it was originally planning to go further. Like, the ending was supposed to be a bit further on than where the anime stopped. And they decided to stop it early because they realized if they did go further, they would have a riot on their hands.
Oh, right, the whole REM thing.
There's literally the next sentence in the show is such a bad sentence that everybody would just be like, "Oh God."
Who's REM?
Oh my God.
And ReZero, more like ReZero.
We can.
But it's
I like to hear you like, oh God.
I'm almost like I'm edging onto like the isekai conversation now, and I'm just like holding myself back to like.
It does such a good job of moving on and giving like that resolution, that like the ending feels good on its own, and like I say, it also wouldn't be misplaced and feel forced for another season to be in.
It was made by a bunch of people that actually cared and knew what they were doing.
It was. And they did a really fantastic job, and I love the show, and I think it's a really good show, whether it's a light novel adaptation, an anime original, it doesn't matter, and I would highly recommend it to anyone, especially anyone currently in the midst of university, especially.
I mean, like, because this is one of the shows you talked about on the first podcast. And that was the first show of all of the shows that everybody talked about that I hadn't seen yet, that I went and watched, and I literally binged it in like 2 days because I enjoyed it a lot.
I have not seen it.
Thanks for contributing, Lewis.
It's a good show.
No worries! I will sit here and masturbate myself to sleep.
Lewis,
wake me up when we talk about isekai again. You've told me about it before, Ben. Don't worry.
No, I know. I'm just saying it's up your alley. It has, the elements of a game designer desperately struggling in a world of people perfect at what they do.
Oh, don't worry, dude. I'll get on to it after I finish.
And it also has that level of, mental illness touching on.
Which is a bit of my jam. I'll admit.
And it's written by Geno Rabucci.
I mean,
is it really?
I didn't think it was.
No, it's not.
That was a joke which fell completely flat on its face.
No, Hugh, I've really enjoyed. But I stayed quiet out of the sheer interest of, are people gonna fall for this?
I didn't fucking.
When Geno Rabucci was told to write a nice show, he wrote Madoka Magica.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Dear.
Nice.
Look. Can I date this podcast horribly? Do you see Madoka Magica's getting a new season based on a mobile game?
Yeah. I saw
Fucking kill me.
Oh God. Anyway. So,
but yeah, Sakuraso, good shit, and very good adaptation of a show that makes it so it doesn't even feel like such.
It's very interesting.
Ends in a great spot, but could be continued if it was picked up again.
It's very interesting that that it's almost an insult to something feeling like a light novel adaptation, despite the fact that there are some shows that clearly are light novel adaptations but are excellently executed. Like Haruhi Suzumiya is so unbelievably obviously a light novel adaptation. It's split into arcs. They call it as such. It's the first like proper show which got light novel adaptations.
Does the full non-chronological order, same way as Monogatari.
Yeah, it was the first show which really threw chronological, threw kind of light novels into the fray, and that's fantastic. Like, it's really well put together. It just depends how one actually adapts something and what they're actually adapting.
It always, like, with light novels, it's kind of like you get 95% of them are literally trash, and then you get the 5% that are actually really, really good.
Could you not argue that for pretty much
everything? Literally everything. Right,
Probably,
okay, I will say everything. Alastair, you're only wrong in one respect. 95 to 5. What world have you been fucking living in? Everything is shit.
I'm slightly less pessimistic than you are, Lewis.
Everything!
Slightly.
Apart from like half a dozen things.
If Lewis's version of heaven is just a completely black room with a copy of Zero, Geno Urobuchi sat next to it, he turns around, holds up a copy of Darker Than Black and goes, "Wanna watch it together?"
Genuinely, Hugh, you said dark. There was a slight pause when I was like, "He holds up a copy of Dark Souls, and we want to play it together." And I'm like, "That really is Darker Than Black, even better. We can play Dark Souls later."
I genuinely.
That was very wholesome for me.
All I imagined was, as you said, as like that entire thing happened, like it ended, and you turn around smiling to Gen Urobuchi, and I'm just like, "So what did you think, Gen-san?" And he turns, he turns around, looks you dead in the eyes with a blank face, and just like, "Man, I thought it had so many plot holes, and I think anyone that would take an adaptation of this over something else and turn it into something they really love and create personally is possibly one of the worst and most ridiculous ideas. I could never respect them as long as I live." So tell me about your D&D, Lewis.
Yeah.
You turn around, you see the army of half-naked, big-breasted women walking towards you, and you realize you were in hell all along.
Wait, is it Dark Souls 2? It's Dark Souls 2!
No, you see the army of big-breasted women walking towards you and realize that Alastair's there too.
No, I'm sending them in. I'm just like...
Well, it looks like I'm in the hornet's nest.
Oh no!
Fucking Urobuchi-san there, just like, "Lewis, what are you doing to your hard drive?" "It's nothing. By the way, do you want to watch season 2 of Darker Than Black?" "No, not really."
Cuts to the fucking experiment footage where your eyes are taped open. You're getting eye drops dripped in. As instead of being shown signs of fucking wars and like blimps being blown up and crashing, you're instead just watching Darker Than Black season 2.
No, not Area 11. Turn it off. Turn it off.
You're watching that and fucking DSP playthroughs.
Yeah, I'm watching that DSP and just a third-person camera hovering over, alternating between your 3 shoulders.
Oh man.
My beautiful, beautiful day. But nah, to be fair, that is true of any medium. Most things are not very good. Very few things are very good.
Can I shout about Food Wars Season 4/3.5 now?
Do it,
Go
my
ahead.
boy!
I've watched 2.5 seasons of Food Wars, so I can weigh in slightly. I watched up to the episode where there's like a million identical-looking Chinese guys cooking food, and I couldn't.
Where it starts to not get good.
Right. Yeah, one of the guys salts a little bit too quickly, and he gets beaten or something. And I couldn't quite tell you what bit of that scene was racist. Like, if I was sat down and told what is racist about this scene, I couldn't point to the moment. But it was very racist.
Look. Food Wars Seasons 1 and 2 are excellent and some of my favourite pieces of anime of all time. Season 3's a bit kind of meh, and Season 4 is a horrendous adaptation that got me angry. And it got me angry for one reason and one reason only. They got lazy and they just decided to put in 100,000 panning shots. Now,
no, it's Food Wars is one of those things where when I've been watching it, season 1 is great,
it's
and
excellent.
then it just goes. Each season after that gets gradually worse. Like they're gradually just going, oh, it doesn't matter what we make now. They'll just watch it because we know they're invested. It's exactly what's happened.
Exactly what they're doing.
That's
exactly what.
But bafflingly, actually, I will say, if you're after a comparative show, I'd actually argue it's got a lot in common with Kaiji, as far as the adaptation goes, in that they were handed a series where fuck all happens, and usually it's just done with fucking, like, single shots of, like, it's like, you know the fucking food porn bits where they get teleported to the sex dimension because they like the chicken McNugget? Kaiji's got the same thing where they do metaphors about, like, Kaiji's recent fucking adventures in, like, stopping his ability to come because it's like a dam waiting to be burst. Cue the fucking shot of the dam waiting to be burst. And, like, they both do the same thing, which is where they then just focus on those shots because they've got no substance.
Shoot your goo, my dudes!
Oh, fuck.
Right.
Kaiji-kun.
So I've just looked this up because I'm an idiot and I like looking things up. So in one episode, like this is the reason I have a problem with Food Wars Season 4 is because they got lazy and they decided to just completely screw shot variety and just make the cheapest version possible because the manga sells well, the anime sells okayly, we can just kind of pump this thing out and people are going to still buy it. In one episode of Food Wars Season 4, I can't tell you which one it is because I'm getting this from a secondary source. There are 84 panning shots. There are 6 pan and zoom shots, 6 zooms, 3 stills, and 1 multifaceted shot.
I think I know. I think I know which episode it is. It's the.
It's like the first or second episode of season 4.
I think it's the one where Soma and Spice Guy are having their fight.
Spice?
I can't
remember his name.
I think it's much earlier.
Fucking Archer.
Guys, you're all fucking wrong. It's clearly Arc 1 of High School DxD.
Oh. We're back.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Ben. The boobies jiggle way too much for those just to be panning shots.
But literally,
I just stared into my lamp for a second there,
literally though, like Food Wars seasons, like I love Food Wars seasons 1 and 2. I this is gonna be like make me
season 2 is better than the manga.
This is gonna make me sound like a horrendous human being. Like I used to like when Food Wars season 2 was airing.
You masturbate to Boku no Pico. I know.
No, not at all. I used to be like, right, what time does this thing air? Because I need to come and watch it. My grandmother, bless her, I loved her so much, was in a care home at the time, and I used to plan my visits to her around when Food Wars aired because I wanted to watch it as soon as humanly possible. So I'd still go and visit her every single day, but I'll be like, I have to visit her between 1 and 2 today because Food Wars airs at 3.
Stop.
Mate, don't worry. Oh, sorry, Liz.
Look down. Care home grandmothers are temporary. Fucking seasonal anime is forever.
Man, it gets worse, Hugh. It gets worse. Don't worry. A cute girl asked me to lunch, and I turned her down because I wanted to play granddaughter at my desk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you said about that. Oh dear, ladies and gentlemen, me, Ben, and Alastair have been playing granddaughter. If that's not already obvious enough.
Yeah. No.
Anyway,
back to Food Wars.
Anyway, I love Food Wars seasons 1 and 2. I thought it was fantastic. I started to read the manga after season 2. Food Wars season 3 was meh. It was good. It was fine. I watched it while I was training. I watched it like I got back from Japanese classes and watched it while I ate a takeaway. It was fine. It was just like I'm watching all this like wonderful, delicious food getting made, and I'm eating a greasy kebab, which kind of ruined it probably.
I've never heard something that has made me think you're more of a weeb and also made me more turned on by you.
Thanks, Ben. And getting back from Japanese, watching footballs while eating a kebab.
Yeah, that's perfection right there, Hugh. If you don't get the two numbers of the two people watching this, including my dad, then
And so, what? Your dad and me? I give myself my own number.
He didn't even call back.
he never calls me. Anyway, so I love season 3 was meh. Season 4, I started watching and I'm like, something's off. Something is distinctly off about this season, and I don't know what it is. Because I've read the manga and I enjoyed the manga. A lot of people got really annoyed at the Azumi, the because you suddenly introduced some kind of villain when the show wasn't really a villain-based show. I liked that arc. I really enjoyed
I
the
liked that
introduction
arc
of
a
it.
lot as well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I'm like, despite that, something's off. Why am I not enjoying this? It's the same voice actors, except for Erina, and I've already come to terms with that, and I like Erina, voice actress. What's wrong? And kind of as I'm watching, I start to notice, I'm like, that's a panning shot. That is also a panning shot. That's a panning. Oh, they've run out of ideas and they're just panning. Oh, right. It's lazy. They've gotten lazy. And the entire Football Season 4 is them getting lazy. It's just panning shots. If you watch Football Season 4, just go and watch an episode and count the panning shots. It's lazy animation. And this brings me on just literally the only other show I want to talk about is Backstreet Girls, which is currently airing on, and it's going to be going on Netflix soon, which is a shot-for-shot remake of the manga. And it's lazy. It's literally literally a shot-for-shot remake of the manga. Every single shot is in the manga with just the occasional bit of movement. It's lazy.
Is this the old Zack Snyder thing where he uses comic books as a fucking storyboard for the films based on them?
Yeah.
And it's like, are you disabled?
Basically, yeah, it's lazy.
This disappoints me so heavily, mate, because I saw it was being adapted, and I was like, I've heard of this manga. I believe it's on my to read.
It's funny.
My manga to read list is bigger than I don't know, fucking. I don't know. I can't think of a funny joke. So the melty face off of Colonel Gaddafi.
It's bigger than you after I told that Food War story.
Oh. And so I've been meaning to watch it for a while. I heard it announced. I read it. I thought it's a great manga. I quite enjoyed the manga. Then
it's not a good adaptation.
I was looking forward to the anime coming out. I'm not gonna lie, mate. After it stopped announcing itself about a month and a half before it was being released. And so I forgot it was a thing because of Crunchyroll spamming my inbox with every other thing being released. And so...
all that Ragnarok and thingy, like...
Well, they mainly post videos of shows that have been out for about a year, but...
Are you watching Black Clover yet?
No,
I'm watching Black Clover.
I watched the first episode with Lewis. I watched the first episode.
That was
turning around
so
to him,
funny.
saying, "Lewis, can we watch this? It's something I'm quite looking forward to. It's supposed to be quite good, and I really like the premise." We watched it. We got about 10 minutes in, turned to each other, and unanimously was like, "This is trash."
Like it was when Chain Dude appeared, and it was like, this is.
We rooted for Chain Dude so it would end.
Yeah.
No,
is it? Hugh, the picture.
Yeah.
Is it?
Don't even need to watch it.
Is it because the main character's like shouting is so annoying?
Oh,
it's not even right. All right.
No, because if it no, but if it's that, I have the solution to your issue. Watch the dub. It's not as bad.
No.
Okay, right.
What's bad about it is that stupidly high-paced stuff that then decides, hey, it's the second episode, let's do filler.
Well, the second episode is dumb. It's like, why are you putting in a full episode of backstory in the second episode?
The girl is the worst character to ever be in any show.
Right, literally, the voice acting is terrible and the cut breaks on the car. The reason the fucking thing's on fire is because shot pacing. That's it. You need no other reason to explain why Black Clover is bad. Black Clover is generic piece of shit. Generic piece of shit does not translate to absolutely terrible. It's fucking shot. Its pacing is destroyed. Bless you. Because it's fucking Crunchyroll made, so what probably happened was an inexperienced bless you, man. What happened was an inexperienced producer turned to a studio and went, "We need these episodes, we need these good shots, we need a lot of content in a short amount of time." What that does not translate to is introduce 5 characters and just run the pacing into the ground, because that's why they went for filler, because I think they were just rushed on the production.
But have you heard the good news, Lewis?
There's more episodes coming.
There's season 9.
They've confirmed there's more episodes.
Of course
coming.
they have. It's fucking funded by Crunchyroll. It's their own personal baby. They've got more money in their own proper anime network. They're gonna push that shit until people are forcing it up their arseholes.
I remember going to MCM Comic Con, the autumn one last year.
Oh yeah, I know this. Yeah, they had their own little booth. Yeah, I remember this.
Crunchyroll had ever turned up, and they had their own little booth, and I was just like, it'd be interesting to see what the biggest streaming site in the UK for anime has to offer us. I walked up to it, and it was literally just screening Black Clover episodes.
Oh, dude, that's bad.
The worst part is they still pretend it's good.
I turned around and walked off.
Dude, we went in October and they were promising like free posters if you went there and had a sub. Me and Alastair had subs. We went there to get our stuff. The free poster I got was for Black Clover. I think I threw it away and just kept
I went for the Knights and Magic post.
Oh no. Anyway, jumping off Black Clover and back onto Backstreet Girls. Please, for the love of all that is holy, if you're going to adapt some kind of manga or light novel, don't be lazy. Put some thought and some enthusiasm into your work. I get it, you might be strapped for time. You might be strapped for cash. Have some kind of enthusiasm. Don't just look at the manga and go, there's a storyboard.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can have the shots that are in the manga in the anime, because My Hero does that all the time. Like, each manga frame is in the anime, but there's stuff in between.
Every single shot.
Oh, thank you for reminding me of a show that does that perfectly, by the way, which I will bring up after this. But, Hugh.
Hello.
Thank you, and also fuck you for bringing up this point, because on one hand, you've made me realise that it's going to be a steaming pile of trash, the anime, and I will not waste my time on it. On the other hand, I kind of want to see this steaming pile of trash.
Well, I watched all of the 2016 and 17. If you watch it like a really shit B movie, it becomes quite funny, and that's tragic.
Yeah, but I feel like this one may just be incredibly disappointing.
It is. It's just not. I watched the first episode and went, no, I'll just stick to the manga, thanks. And that's the most disappointing kind of adaptation. You watch an episode and it's not even so bad it's worth watching. It's just all right, back to the original source material, I suppose. Like, Black Clover's funny because it's so bad.
Yeah,
it's
like
so
that...
bad it becomes.
That's Vampire Bites, whatever the fuck it was called. Like, just
Killing Bites.
Killing Bites. Yeah,
Killing
like,
Bites
that's where you
so
watch
bad.
it once a week with friends because it's that bad. Like, that's what
Magical Girls Fight.
or Magical Girls Fight, or Junie Tyson dabs.
Judy, no. Okay, Judy Tyson.
I'm kidding. It's only because Ben and I watched it week on week, and as it was going on, we were like, "It'll get better. It'll get better." Like episode 6. It's not.
Hey,
Lewis,
Lewis.
This is written by Monogatari, dude.
It's written by the Monogatari dude.
Oh,
it's written by this Lewis Tim.
Hugh, here's a fun thing. I've read the light novel because I asked for it after I'd watched like the first 3 episodes and was loving the show. I finished the show. Was quite disappointed. The light novel is fucking amazing. The light novel is really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it like on a lot of shelves. I'm tempted to buy it, considering I absolutely love the
dude. It's Niso in it as proper. It's like it's him putting detail into his characters, but also a fight between them. Like genuinely imagine a proper fight between the Monogatari characters and what that would be animated. That's what Jimmy Tyson should have been.
Oh, I'm sure it was. I'm sure the light novel is absolutely.
Is based off of one of the characters, the same way that every episode is.
The episode.
But it starts with a biography that goes into incredible detail and gives you even quotes from the characters, such as the first one, which starts with Boar. It tells you about how the fact she currently has about 15 boyfriends on the go because none of them satisfy her, and she desperately needs more. And that sort of stuff.
Her wish is for the entire world to be her harem.
Her wish is for every man in the world to be in love with her.
Dude, like, if there's any wish that the three of us can get behind, it's that. Now that Alastair's gone to the loo, and it's just us.
Oh shit! Admins are away. Fuck. Talk about men.
He might be behind that because she's not a guy.
I suppose.
Quickly talk about men before it's too late.
Man,
I don't want to go back.
On Adaptations!
Banana Fish!
Banana Fish is a manga that has been adapted into an anime, and oh my god, it's fucking fantastic!
It's really fucking good.
Fucking good. Tumblr is blowing up because yes, it's mainly about gay guys being
super gay.
But
it's super
holy
gay.
shit, it is amazing. It's a really good show. It's an intricate look at mobsters. It also has so much emotion, and yes, it is edgy, and it has that gay level of Tumblr bait. But holy fuck, it does it well, and the show keeps you on edge, gets you to care about the characters, and throws you twists and turns without feeling that they're tired, that they're the same thing regurgitated, or any of that bullshit. And as someone who looked up and read the manga after like watching the first few bits of Banana Fish, to Devilman's art style in manga, and the show's art style is not really Devilman stylistic-esque, but it's adapted to a proper style and not given that sort of holy shit, what the fuck is this Saint Seiya bullshit.
I will say, Banana Fish does not give a fuck. Like, right? Just all this is tastefully done, right? They handle child pornography, gay sodomy in prison, the only black character getting shot to death, because he's black, who's also a child. They talk about race relations, and they talk about drug abuse, particularly drug abuse in the military. This show doesn't give a fuck, and it's really gay, and it's like
they deal with child abuse and what that leads to in fucking up a person in the way that they grow up. They deal with someone realizing that they're gay and having to deal with those feelings and the way that they deal with those feelings and not really wanting to come out to people about it. And it just has so much in depth, and yes, it is forefront about the sexual violence on things, but that's just because that's the sort of a hold no punches show it is. It's not shoving it in your face for shock factor or anything like that. It's shoving it in your face because it's just a reality and common thing that's going on at the moment in this world, and it doesn't treat it as shock factor. It treats it as this is the normal for these fucking villains that are kidnapping and using children in the sex trade, which is a huge plot point. And it's a huge plot point that it doesn't just throw in your face as, oh, here's the big shocker. Like, the initial point of a character having been used in this, yes, that's a shock. Recurring, yes, it keeps recurring, and it's not used every single time repeatedly like most shows do as a, oh, shocker again, shocker again, shocker again. No, it becomes a normality because this is what the fucking people do. Like there's a bit where someone gets kidnapped and it's just like, all right, so do you want to be beaten or do you want to act nice and, we'll play with you? And it's just like,
and get sodomized.
This does not hold fucking punches.
Yeah, the show doesn't give a fuck. It's like if any of you saw 91 Days, which is a show I really fucking rate that no one fucking saw.
I watched the first like 2 episodes of that, and it did nothing for me.
That's fine. I rate the fuck out of that show just because it's the kind of this is a small side story. Like the entire thing feels like a side story in another anime, and I kind of like that like appeal about it, where like all the characters feel very normal. There's a very normal quest for revenge. Basically, Banana Fish feels like 91 Days if set a bit more upbeat, I dare say. Like, there's less quests about revenge and more quests to fucking like blast someone's head off and like fuck people.
It's
like,
a guy who's had enough of what he's gone through and who he's been forced to put up with, and just decides like, this is the last straw. After this, I've finally got some form of dirt, some form of lead. You've fucked me over for the last time, both literally and and figuratively. And
you enjoyed that little joke, didn't you?
yes, I did. And
I like it when Ben laughs. It's always cute.
Oh, thanks, Hugh.
Oh, I look at this burgeoning fucking romance in this chat. I can't even get laid the gay anime podcast.
but genuinely, the show is great and just has this level of this sort of revenge. Looked up and read the stuff in between. The manga is very difficult to handle because of the art style, especially for when you're used to other things, because it does have, if anyone out there knows, as I said previously, the Devilman manga level of art style, which is an incredibly cartoony way of handling a very serious manga.
It's that really weird, like, fucking Cyberman 009. It's very
Seiya, as I said.
It's very Astro Boy. Like, this thing was clearly done in the 70s.
Astro Boy is perfect.
Right. Get me on this, and then this is a really fucking strange example. Do you want to know what vibe I always get from those old fucking shows?
What?
Powerpuff Girls.
Oh shit!
Like every time I watch them, it like because I swear the Powerpuff Girls looks like these original Astro Boy massive eyes, thick black lines, slow but deliberate animations. Like
I see that entirely.
Call it a really weird connection. That one.
That is an exceptionally weird connection. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but fuck it, dude.
Who would have thought that on our anime podcast we would have just gone, hey, you know what we're going to talk about? Powerpuff.
You know what we're going to talk about? A Western cartoon.
We took the excuse while Führer Alastair was away from his post.
We're just talking about some classic Western animation that was inspired by
decided
some old stuff.
While Am left us alone, we would try and kill each other with our can of beans.
Yeah, didn't even give
While Am was away, we had a mouth and will scream.
God stopped looking, and we ate the apple.
We ate the apple. We didn't eat the apple.
You know I'm here, right?
Down the tree. We fucking chopped it down with a chainsaw.
We're like gender bent fate George Washington again.
I leave for 2 minutes and this happens.
This is why you don't leave.
This is us breaking out with a whole bunch of fucking like dildos to hit everyone.
Now,
with.
as I was saying, Banana Fish is actually a fantastic adaptation. Watch it. It's a brilliant show. It's really interesting. And honestly, as someone who has read the thing and read the original content and stuff, I think the ending is fantastic in a Generabuchi style of ending.
Well,
I mean, I'll have to wait until the ending happens.
Please don't spoil because I'm watching this as we
I am not spoiling. That's why I'm leaving it vague.
Tell you what, I think Powerpuff Girls is a suitable segue to move on to things that Alastair despises, and among the things that Alastair despises are things that Hugh likes. Hugh, talk about the other thing.
What was the other thing?
I don't know. You said you had another thing. Well, Hugh, baton.
Akira Baton.
My two things were
Akira Baton.
Food Wars Season
Akira Baton!
Why the fuck did Hugo woke again?
I had Food Wars season 4, and then I segued into my second talk about Backstreet Girls already.
Okay, never mind then. Well, Alastair, do you have anything that you want to talk about?
I can now go. I mean, this would have been better suited after the Sword Art Online bit, but the only other show that I can actually talk about to any extent of comparison
Is
between
it Konosuba?
yeah.
I mean, all right.
It's the only other show I can really compare the source material to the anime because I've seen both seasons and I've read 5 of the light novels. So
just taking a minute, just out of interest for people, Lewis.
Yeah.
How are there any others that you wish to talk about? Just a number, not anything specific. We are on the Konosuba train here.
I've got one manga which I absolutely adore, which I would like to discuss how one would go about adapting it and the troubles that you have.
Is this the one I think you're going to talk?
Possibly.
I'm just going to say fire.
Yes.
Guy.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I think we've both got it there. Hugh.
But by all means, we can leave that to the end. That's
is
a bit
the
more.
Other word punch?
Yes, we'll leave that to the end though, purely because that one's a bit more of a long form conversation of just how do you go about. See, I actually started with Fire Punch when we were talking about this, and just how does one go about adapting something which is primarily composed of standing beautiful shots, but is still an ad Lewis, so we'll move on for now.
Let's leave that and let's talk about Konosuba.
Right, Alastair. Just to say, I have 4 other ones I wish to talk about.
Yep.
How long are those going to take?
Alastair, go ahead.
That depends on other people more than.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, because you can't really talk. I mean, we've already talked about sort of online. You can't really talk about light novel adaptations without talking about isekai more in depth. Of which, if anybody wants my quick list of which shows you should watch and which shows, like, of all of them, it's ReZero, Overlord, and Konosuba are the 3.
Get googling, Phil.
So Konosuba. I
mean, I'd say there's a couple more, but
if
like,
you had to, if I had to pick 3,
I'll give you that.
I mean, you could add Log Horizon to that list if you wanted to.
Log Horizon's opening is its only redeeming quality. I'm sorry.
Rip.
And even then, it's only because the fucking band clearly like Rage Against the Machine. Anyway.
Right. So Konosuba is like I've actually no, because that was in the thing that didn't go out. Konosuba is literally like the show that anything I see about Konosuba makes me happy. Like the show, I watch it makes me happy.
Konosuba is great.
Picture of it makes me happy. Konosuba has an adaptation where I have, it's a good adaptation, but there are some things about it where I have mixed feelings because out of in the first season, I'm going to look at the first season. First of all, each season is 10 episodes, so it's 2 episodes shorter than what a normal anime length would be, which is 12. The first novel is pretty much completely adapted, apart from one chapter which is put in as a flashback rather than actually adapting it as a full chapter, which is the chapter where they meet Wiz for the first time, because that's put in as a flashback in the anime.
Okay.
You know what, Alastair? I can actually tell why you like Konosuba so much, right?
Why?
Because you said that every image of it makes you very, very happy. So consequently, I obviously have Googled Konosuba yaoi not safe for work, and I'm desperately trying to find 2 male characters in this fucking show. There straight up aren't!
No. There's one other male character, and it's the Kirito parody guy that gets messed up in the 6th episode, and you never see him again.
Oh, literally, I cannot find anything. I'm trying here.
Alistair, can I ask you a serious question?
Yes.
Why do you hate men?
I don't hate men. It's just I just tend to gravitate towards shows with more female characters than male ones.
I've never been happier in my life to return to the conversation to Alastair saying I don't hate men, desperately trying to defend, after having stormed in on my girlfriend in the other room and yelling at her, "What did you say about Nickelback?" As she turns around deadpan and goes, "Ben, I'm on speaker to my parents," as I hear a break out of laughter over the phone, as I sheepishly walk over, grab my Dr. Pepper, and go, "It's nice to hear from you. I'm gonna walk away embarrassed. I'm sorry," and rush out the room.
Ben casually humble bragging about he's the only one here with a girlfriend.
Hugh, what the fuck are you talking about? You know you're my girlfriend.
Ben, please.
Oh god. Yeah. So no, the reason I like Konosuba is because because the characters.
No. I do not get to not be involved in the conversation of Alastair saying I do not hate men.
Well, it's just because Hugh said, "Why do I hate men?" and I said I don't.
But Alastair,
What?
you won't watch a show if there's not a single woman in it. Is that because you hate men?
No.
I'm glad you came to a similar conclusion that Hugh did.
Alistair.
There is not a single one.
There are actually. This is getting to my point. This is getting to my point.
What's so good about Konosuba?
So the thing that I really like about Konosuba, and which is
there's lots of women.
No, not
Ben,
entirely.
as we speak, I'm googling. There is not a single yaoi picture from this fucking thing.
Because why would there be? No, it's because the characters are made in such a way that they all have, like, their personalities of each character is distinctive in its own way, and it's not just like they're an archetype, like which you get with most isekai shows and whatnot. They have their own characters, they have their own personalities. I mean, because of course it is literally what's the word?
I found that too. That barely counts.
I've forgotten what the word is, but literally because it's literally mocking other isekai shows, essentially with what it's doing, because it's taking all the archetypes and literally turning them on its head. Of like, okay, Aqua is meant to represent the tsundere character, but she doesn't.
Is she?
Yes, she is. But what they've done is they've taken a tsundere and taken the dere out. So she's literally just a bitch.
I thought she was just meant to represent, a pile of garbage I'm supposed to put in.
I think Konosuba is the sort of show that doesn't just parody isekai, it parodies harem, because it takes these three girls that, on the surface, like, if they didn't open their mouths, like, they look like, typical waifu bae. You've got the attractive blue-haired deity that is wearing the short skirt and is that sort of thing. You've got the lolly for those people who are that kind of inclined, and then you've got the big One-sama sort of character. The big.
This is the best I got.
Yeah, exactly. And then
isn't she like a huge masochist?
Well, that's the point.
And then they open their mouths and they're all tremendous human beings.
That's the best I could find.
Jesus Christ.
Fucking hell!
Oh god.
And the fact of the matter is, I'm just going to power through this
on the podcast.
I'm not putting
Demonetized.
I'm not putting that up.
You know what my favourite thing about this is? Fallon and Graham are in this chat.
Oh!
So, ladies and
that
gentlemen,
backed down so hard.
That was a hard back down.
So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are confused, Lewis just posted something highly inappropriate in the group chat, and then realised that someone he'd rather not have seen it is also in the group chat.
Anyway, but yeah, no. As far as the adaptation goes, going back to that, what they've done is because they've only got 10 episodes, so they've got naturally they've cut stuff out of the light novels.
Mr. Snip Snip.
So one of the things, the first novel is pretty much identical apart from the Wiz chapters put in as a short flashback rather than the full thing, and the ending fight isn't done as complicated as, like, in the light novel. It's a bit more complicated. Like, the fight starts off in the town rather than outside of town, which also explains why Megumin can't just blow them up straight away, because they're like, well, they're interspersed in different alleyways in the town, so I can't explosion them, which doesn't really work when they're outside in a big group anyway.
That's never stopped any psychopath I've known.
And
that's never stopped your D&D characters.
And then the second novel, they actually leave out 2 chapters.
Oh, do they?
Yes. Well, one of them is actually adapted in the second season. The one where Aqua and Kazuma go and clear the dungeon, that's actually in the second volume.
Oh, I love that.
And they have to put it in the second season because otherwise the whole Vanya thing doesn't make sense. But the other chapter that they had to leave out a chapter, and instead of leaving out the chapter that I would have left out, which is the succubus chapter, because it literally doesn't.
That's so funny though, because it's just that I'd argue that bit needs to be left in, because it's genuinely, it shows off the personalities of those characters so unbelievably well. Like it's like
well, it shows off how much of a crappy character Kazuma is.
It probably needs to be an OVA, but I'd say that's not the sort of thing you leave out.
Well, the thing, no, because the chapter they left out. So, if people who've seen the show, that start of that episode, there's 2 guys standing outside the shop looking in, and Kazuma knows them, but you've never seen them before in the show. The chapter that's missing is the chapter where he meets them. Because what this chapter is they go into the guild hall, and there's this other guild, there's this other group of adventurers that is there, which includes those 2 guys. And of course, Kazuma comes in with his group, and they're arguing, and he's complaining about life and whatnot. And then the other leader of that group comes up to him and literally says, why are you complaining? You literally have the 3 best classes in existence. Why are you complaining? I would love to have a group like them. And Kazuma goes, you have no idea. Why about you try it? And they literally swap teams. So their leader goes off with his group, and Kazuma goes off with the other group. And it's a really funny chapter, because you have Kazuma's adventure, which he literally goes off and he does really, really well with this team that actually is cohesive and works really, really well. And they're all impressed with how Kazuma can do loads of things, even though he's a crappy adventurer, because he's had to compensate for the crap that his other teammates are doing. And then they come back, and then the other team literally comes in, and it's like that guy has had the nightmarish life that he's ever had. And it's such a funny chapter. I'm like, why is that not in? Why?
I mean, let's be honest. Like, we're getting a movie. Potentially, that's the movie.
I don't think it is, because I thought they would do it as one of the OVAs, and they didn't. It's not long enough for a movie.
Who knows? Who knows? Then, like, I mean, it sounds like a funny chapter. Potentially, there just isn't enough to do with it.
Yeah,
Maybe
I don't
that's
know. I just thought it'd be nice to see more characters, essentially, in this world, because it's like those characters are in the world anyway. In the second season, because it seems to, like, each volume, if it fluctuates on how many chapters there are in it. So I mean, it fluctuates on how many episodes you can do. The second season takes an episode essentially from volume 2. All it cuts out really from the third volume are literally little extra bits of Union. Like there's a bit where Union goes into town with Kazuma and goes to the market with him. So there's little extra Union chapters that aren't in the show. The fourth volume is pretty much completely adapted the same, apart from the ending confrontation is different in the show than it is in the light novel. I think the show version is better.
Right. I mean, I think the show itself is going to be a better version of it than the light novels, because it has the physical comedy element.
Yeah, it has the physical comedy
so well.
I mean, the comedy is still in the light novels, and I think the reason the light novels are funny for me now is because I can read the light novels just imagining what the like anime would like. I can just imagine the anime characters doing the things while I'm reading it because I've seen the show.
I also think it helps that a good adaptation can have fantastic voice acting. I think the voice acting of those characters is stellar. Kazuma is absolutely brilliant. He manages to pull off that snark absolutely brilliantly. The character that plays the voice actress who plays Aqua is the same voice actress who played Mia in Monster Musume, and she is
that explains a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure Alastair knew that.
Because
she manages to play she manages to flip between haughty up on our high horse, I'm the greatest goddess in the world, to oh god no, help me, everything's going awful, and just like that so well, just like a click of the fingers.
Yeah, it's also like they're all great. Like Megumin's voice actor, because she voices Amelia in ReZero as well. She can do she does those Megumin
Takahashi Ray.
Yeah, she does those like speeches that Megumin does when she's like chanting and whatnot, and when she's like showing off doing her Chunibyo stuff. That like those are great. It's just like it's a really well done show. It's funny as hell, and it's to the point where you don't need more seasons. Like. It's not a thing where you would need more seasons because you can just rewatch the stuff and it's hilarious.
I want another season.
I mean, I want another season because I know what the next volume is because I've read Volume 5, and Volume 5 is my favourite volume, like, of the 5 that I've read. I mean, Volume 6 has just come out officially as well, which I haven't got yet. I've ordered it. But Volume 5 is hilarious. Because it's the Megumin chapter essentially, because it's where they go to Megumin's hometown, and it's just really well done. Like it's funny, but it's also got a lot of emotional stuff in it.
Ben, what do you think of Konosuba?
I think Konosuba is a distinctly average show that people overhype.
I too think it's perfectly adequate.
I think I rather enjoyed
cashing in on a trend.
I think I rather enjoyed the first series. However, I feel it is cashing in on a trope that it shouldn't necessarily be cashing in on, and I feel that every part of its being is more relying on money than it is on sense, and it's heading down the SAO route quicker than SAO did.
I don't really see how, but yeah, okay.
Its quality is decreasing as it cashes in.
I would argue its quality gets better.
It is instantly repeating the same things and it more. And
I'm currently looking on Wikipedia, and I've just found out that Megumin's voice actress also voices Mashu in Fate Granddaughter.
And like that, you have evaporated all interest I had in this conversation. Ben, what are one of your remaining shows?
I mean, I had more to say about Konosuba, but it's fine.
You know what? I did too, and then Hugh made it about Grand Order.
I do want to make a point about Konosuba.
Go on then.
I enjoy Konosuba, and I think it's a good show, and it has interesting characters, and I like the way that it actually makes a trope out of the series that has so many tropes. Not a trope, sorry, a meme necessarily out of a series that has a genre, sorry, that has so many tropes and so many specifics that it will repeat at every fault to try and get people to view it because people will just view that set. And I like the fact that it makes fun of that. I like the fact that it turns a bunch of stuff on its head about it. However, in doing so, sticking to it and realizing it's actually popular, it is adhering to said tropes, however, the opposite of them in every way. It is basically making every parody of that now a trope in its own right, and ruining every future one to try and do that from there on forwards.
I think the issue that any kind of popular
it's the Rick and Morty of anime.
It is.
It's the Rick and Morty of anime, and I will add a nice splice segue here of it's the likes of you get your Konosubas, which will ruin the make fun of a genre eventually because it will ride that donkey harder and drier than a fucking sex addict in a desert with nothing but fucking sandpaper at his own wrist.
See, to be fair, I think I'd also like to make the argument of a comparison of Konosuba to Rick and Morty, which is where, as the show goes on, they're making it more about the characters than the inherent ridiculous situation, and you look at it and you're like, "What the hell are you doing?" Because
Well, the most attractive part of Konosuba is the characters, though.
Don't worry, Lisa, I still love you.
If the appeal of Konosuba was the characters, then they wouldn't have bothered making a fucking isekai.
You tear me apart,
Konosuba is all like, even the writer has said it's not about where it was never about the actual like where it's going. It's literally
it was about the money he could earn from.
No, it's literally the journey of getting there. It's like
it was about putting
hilarious nonsense that just these characters happen to get into with like through stupidity and dumb luck.
I feel Konosuba is heading the same way SAO is, and that's my point on what it is. It was a good show that I quite enjoyed, and I still quite enjoy. However, having picked up the light novels, I am drastically noticing it is more SAO than any other light novel I've ever.
Well,
however, we then see the perfect take the piss but still be original and not rub the dick clean. I couldn't think of a thing to say, but mainly because I'm looking at graffiti of a dog shitting out money that someone posted in the chat. But yeah, you want a funny show that makes fun of shows and makes fun of anime, makes fun of manga, and just is generally incredibly hilarious. Watch the great adaptation of shows that are Nichijou and Hinamatsuri.
Yep. Hinamatsuri, the reverse isekai.
It's really
Hinamatsuri, the genuine reverse isekai, done ridiculously well and hilarious.
Because it's never mentioned again. She just appears.
She just appears there.
It's almost like the writer
just appear there, and the get it. Where did you come from? Oh, another place. Cool.
What do you mean the writers had enough confidence in their writing?
What do you mean? It's a genuinely hilarious show that doesn't need to adhere to and repeat itself over and over again with the same jokes repetitively, unless those jokes are specifically meant to be a funny overgo, such as, Hina's love for Ikura, which is something that should be repetitive.
We call that a running gag in the industry.
Ben, now that it's finished, where would you put Matsuri on your top 5?
Hang on, wait, Ben. I'll consult the chart. Hang on. Wait, what day of the week is it, Hugh? Temperature is about 20 degrees here in the flat. If we account for Stoke-on-Trent's distance, I'm going to just lick my finger here, and yep, it's going to be about third.
Hinamatsuri is actively the most enjoyable show I've ever watched.
That's not a number, Ben. Don't forget.
It's a number.
We're physicists. We're autistic.
Number.
Outright at this point. At this point, I put it at number 1.
Oh fuck! My fucking arcane circle's off.
However, if I were to actively give it a position in my list, retroactively taking into account every, it would be 3rd.
Oh, never mind. Don't need to calibrate the circle. Thanks.
No, it's because it's 20.5 degrees. Not that wrong.
Oh god.
Oh.
Hinamatsuri and Nichijou, I think, are absolutely are the top tier of meme make fun parody anime. The only one that can beat it is possibly Carnival Phantasm.
Yeah.
However, Carnival Phantasm requires a outlandish amount of knowledge of the subject.
I'd argue the two are separate because Carnival Phantasm is a love letter to the series and a whole bunch of writers blowing off steam. I'd argue that Hinamatsuri is just like I'm gonna put this out there.
Have you seen Nichijou, Lewis?
I have seen Nichijou.
Okay, cool.
I haven't seen much of it, but I've seen it. Hinamatsuri is like fucking fantastic, right? It's well written, right? Now, Nichijou, I'm actually gonna say, is limitations creating art. Because what do you do as a director when you're trying to make a funny slice of life, and you sit down one day and you're like, director, what's the matter? What's our limitation? And he's like, what do we do with all this money? Your limitation is you've been given so much more budget than your scope will ever need.
Right. Here's 3 minutes of animation, boys. A girl gets her notebook stolen, which contains all of her yaoi fanfiction. We will have the most intricate drawing claiming God is dead before she chases after them in one of the most well-animated chase scenes since, I know, fucking Gurren Lagann spat out most of its budget while coming over Kamina's face.
Right, you just sat there with the director. Right, this must be the most exasperated director ever, because this filler is working. You're sat there like, director, I need to fill 3 minutes. Are you fucking kidding me? How much money do I have to fill 3 minutes? $90,000. Are you fucking kidding me? It's like, yeah. Where is this filler need to be? It needs to be in like the middle of an episode. Are you fucking right? Fuck it. The principal suplex is a fucking deer. Why don't you fuck off and draw that?
That is one of my favorite.
2 days later, are you fucking kidding me? Reads the fucking reviews. Like, this is a man who wants to be fired and cannot believe his luck. The studio keeps giving him money.
Lewis,
I've got it.
Just one second. One quick thing, Hugh, before that. Lewis, that is the most apt description of Nichijou I've ever heard of a man, a studio wanting to be fired and just gaining more fans and more money every episode.
It's not even the fans. It's like, okay, so we got your product review. We were wondering about your third yacht, if you could justify it. It's purely for personal reasons. Oh, cool. Does that mean you need more corporate money? No, we fucking don't.
This time they play rock, paper, scissors again. Cool, they loved it last time. What? They loved it last time? She just fucking shot the other girl.
Fucking run with it. Just fucking run with it. We'll see if that works. Like, 2 episodes later, man, I really love this running joke they're making. Oh my fucking god, weebs. This guy gets paid like $2 million if he gets fired according to his contract. And he's desperately trying to get fired.
Yeah, he's just like, alright. Fine, just, no. The robot, I don't know, her hand shoots off, or she's just got bread up her arm. I know. Have them sing a funny song. Can I
an animator just fucking shrugs, just starts drawing, and he's like, fucking god damn it.
Why is this 26 episodes?
Yeah, that's it. He looks at the schedule. Hey, it's like, hey, hey, Sam, we fucking increased the number of episodes by 12 because it's so popular. Don't say it. Please just don't. And consequently, we've given you an approved budget. And wiping his tears with fucking yen.
All of this is after like the first time he gets shown the money. Like, are you kidding me? I get all this budget. Oh, this is brilliant. And I'm just like, yeah, but you're gonna have to give in some kind of like form to say where you've spent it, so we make sure that you're not just like running away and spending it on like really high quality food and drink. And he's just like, what? How am I supposed to spend? How am I supposed to spend like 400,000 on a single? This is impossible. I was just gonna go pay pachinko. Like,
yeah,
what?
There's an anime around this guy now. It's like,
man, genuinely, I think the Nichijou and Hinamatsuri especially, they're just. Oh, I don't know. Hinamatsuri just makes me happier than anything, anime-wise.
It's beautiful. It's so good.
It's very good.
It's like if you love the memes in Gintama, then you'll absolutely adore Hinamatsuri. If you don't like Gintama, then you'll absolutely adore Hinamatsuri because it's funny. If you don't like anime, you'll probably like Hinamatsuri.
If you don't like anime, congratulations. God, I'm less than you can imagine.
If you don't like anime, congratulations. You'll make more friends than us who turn around, get to like the third date and go, so I watch anime. They look at you and throw their diaper in your face. And then...
it's not even that. You get to the third date and you're like, so I watch anime and I appear on an anime podcast, and they're just like, oh god, no. And throw themselves out the window.
They realize
we've screwed ourselves royally now.
They're just like, hang on a minute, which one are you?
To be honest, out of all of us, I'm probably the most screwed.
Yes. Oh no, Alastair. Have you heard a fucking word that's come out of my mouth? Hugh, you've only just made me realise how much I fucked my future self.
What do you mean?
You've heard words that I say.
I have.
It goes poorly.
Well, there's a simple solution, and that's seduce someone who doesn't give a fuck.
I've got a simple solution for you. It's starch. No, I'm kidding. It's the final solution. Let's move on.
Oh god, Lewis.
Context, baby.
Back to Isekai.
Well, no one laughed at the fucking chemistry joke, so I went for the low-hanging fruit. And you know what? You fucking spoilers. Anyway,
Lewis, darling, I think I'd like to finally hear this podcast that you appear on. Yeah, sure. Here it is. I'm leaving you.
Granddad, I heard that you're on a...
Man, it's fine. The only reason Kate doesn't leave me is because she refuses to listen to these.
Well, it's because you've locked the basement.
Because she doesn't watch these. There's not much internet in the basement. Let's be honest.
I can't afford a fucking basement.
No, I was about to say there's three factors here. Number one, she wouldn't listen to it. Even if there's no wife in the basement. Even if she didn't, she has long since forgotten to realise that the retinol was replaced with sugar pills 3 months ago.
Oh god.
It's all the placebo. It's all the placebo. And like that, this is unbroadcastable. Betty boy. Or Huey boy, or Alastair boy. Do any of us have any other points before we discuss the Fire Punch and our adaptation that we're looking forward to?
Oh, Lewis, you know I've still got any more.
Right, Ben, get them out of the way.
Blast them quickly.
Quickly.
Oh, fuck, quickly. Alright, boys.
Ben, this is not you. Come on. I want to sleep.
Ben, I have work tomorrow.
I have a 4-hour driving lesson tomorrow, so...
Fuck off, I've wanted to work every podcast that we've done, and all of you have let me.
Go, Ben.
Yeah, no, seriously, go ahead, mate. Go right the fuck ahead.
We love you.
Right. Well,
Shout out to Phil.
Well, he's back in.
Ben, besides which, don't worry, just giving Hugh anxiety by reminding him that it's school tomorrow for the first time properly.
Hey,
it is, literally is.
Yeah.
Rip. Hey, Phil, you enjoying retirement?
If you don't hurry up, I'll start talking about Overlord.
You can talk about Overlord all you want, mate. We'll just say you hate men even more.
Alistair, you can talk about Overlord as much as you want to. I've watched 2 seasons of the fucking thing. I have choice words about my wasted time.
Anyway, as I was saying, Akama Ga Kill.
Oh! Why didn't you say so?
And for the first time in this podcast history, an anime I haven't watched.
So we're actually finally getting onto the topic that we actually mentioned at the very start of this podcast.
Oh my fucking god. Oh, Alastair, have you seen Akama Ga Kill?
I've seen Akama Ga Kill, yeah.
Oh, Ben, you start. Ben, you start.
So for reference, I've read the entirety of the manga, which is now finished. I've watched the entirety of the show. And there is a drastic difference between the two. Some differences are notable and are acceptable and are like, you wouldn't do this shit, this is good. And Akama Ga Kill is the perfect instance of a show that is a very good adaptation and a very good anime, up until the point where it decides that...
He doesn't want to anymore.
I forgot. The guy didn't finish the manga, so we got his cliff notes that we asked for, and we'll fill you in. And this is what I worry about the final season of Game of Thrones.
Right, legitimately. I don't think words can quite capture the amount that imagine an average Japanese salaryman. He's just had a good fucking evening. He goes home, goes to sleep with his like loving girlfriend. He works at an animation studio. He's actually pretty well off. And then at 3 a.m. he opens his eyes, and the sudden thought occurs to him of, "We have no more source material." It is hard to describe just how badly Akama Ga Kill goes from a really fucking good action anime to
it is so good 3/4 of the way through. Everything is really well done.
What's the point where?
What's the turning point, Ben? I'm trying to remember.
I can't remember.
For me personally, as someone who has read the manga, the manga wasn't at this point, but I began to see it going downhill from this sort of point onwards. It was the S-Death fight in the Colosseum, followed by mine dying.
I'll give you that. If I'm being honest, for me it was Akame's sister getting
Alastair,
killed
you
in the
may
church.
want to put spoilers just before what I said.
Oh shit!
To be honest, in front of every single section, I'm gonna do like I did with the Fate casters. I'm literally gonna
Cool,
I'm gonna put
right.
This show is at this time. This show is at this time. If you don't want to hear about the show, skip. Like.
No. That's a fair point. We will assume you have seen the show. You're reading this bit, yeah.
Genuinely, like for me, it was when Akame's sister got like gibbed in the second half of an episode, and it almost felt like a side story.
You mean where she and Akame fight each other?
Yeah, but the thing is, and it was such a well set up fight, if you know what I mean.
It's an incredibly well set up fight.
But just again, the pacing. I think it's the biggest problem with all of these shows that get adapted is that the moment they lose their source material, they cannot pace worth dick.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, it's like with Soul Eater and stuff like that. It's the same thing.
Do you want to know how that fight goes in the manga, Lewis?
Oh, I imagine it's fucking awesome.
It's an awesome fight that gets interrupted by both Wave and Tatsumi, who basically convince them to not kill each other, and they don't, and Kurumi lives.
Ah! Fuck's sake! Like
I so need to read that manga.
At that point, you know how Wave randomly shows up to Tatsumi and everyone in the final fight, despite siding with the Empire the entire time? No, he fucking leaves with Kurumi to make sure she's all right, and they go live a life.
You know what? That is. See,
because guess what? The two people that actually care about the two equivalent show up, go, "This isn't even your fight. You're fighting each other for no reason," and they're like, "Yeah, but we kind of need to find out an answer." And you know what they do? They go, "Find out who's stronger. Just don't kill them."
And you know what? It's almost like that fucking works. See, like, I have so many problems with the way that series ended, because it started really fucking strong, and I like their approach to characters dying. And I know that sounds like a very me sentence. What I mean by that is the fact that this show doesn't pull punches, and the characters actually react to their allies dying, and there's a mixture of getting their resolve hardened and everyone being like, fuck. Like, the relationships are really good. And critically, and this is not something I will often compliment, because it like the fucking Imperial arms are really cool superpowers.
They are.
It's not, because like normally in shit like this, the temptation is to run away screaming with the fucking powers, and like that's what happens at the end of the series when fucking like mech-sized Imperial arm appears, Gurren Lagann bullshit. Up until that point, the fucking Imperial arms are really clever. They're nice abilities. What is it they reminded me? They remind me a bit of Stans in that they're all very specific powers, and they're all used very cleverly to work with each other. As you well know, Ben, the fucking Incursio armor is probably one of my favorite artifacts in all anime. Like, I love that thing. Just like, you go inside the suit, you're gonna die in it, and you're gonna add to the. It's essentially all for one, but like, or one for all, whatever the fuck it is. Like, if in My Hero Academia, but like taken on a decent edge and actually has character consequences. I really like fucking Akama Ga Kill. It's character driven action drama. I know it's a meme, but like it is my favorite kind of show. and then it just kind of shits the bed. Like it's not even like it dies in like particularly egregious. It's not even big order level of train crash. It is just and it just kind of dies.
It's been so long since I've watched it.
Yeah, I can't remember stuff.
There is a specific episode that is just no. That's it. It's fucked up.
I seem to remember there being like a point where I'm like, what's going on now? This is weird. And like, I can't remember what it is because I can't even remember the order of stuff happening anymore.
I'm just trying to. I'm literally looking at episode list now and just trying to find out where what the fucking. Yeah, I was gonna say fucking actually episode like. See, I really enjoyed this right up until the end properly. Like I actually quite liked it. I'm just having a look. I was with this show until like episode like 21. Like I was properly with it. Like and then just
I was the same.
Is when Akame's sister gets killed.
I think that was the bit with me as well. And then immediately leading into the mech. Now here's the one thing I won't. The manga still has the mech.
Yeah, but like it's not.
They deal
again pacing.
Amazingly,
pacing. It's
so
just
much
pacing.
better dealt with.
I can tell you freeze pacing. Oh, also, right. Sorry. Go ahead, Ben.
The manga just elaborates on so much. Like the manga genuinely has, mine and Tatsumi's relationship is a genuine relationship, and not two people just.
It's just like it's not two people of just like one of them being like, I don't like you. I like you now.
There's so much more to it in the manga than there is in the actual thing. And you get so much more context and everything, and all of Mine's well-being and everything that goes through it, and the stuff between the two of them. But you also get so much more characterization from every person. Like Leone in the show, just randomly shot to death by the fucking minister at the end.
Right at the end, and then dies in an alleyway, despite the fact they've literally got healers.
Yep. Well, Leone still dies at the end of the manga, but she dies, stopping the minister taking a proper mortal wound. I can't remember specifically what it is at this point in time, but I remember knowing that I read it, and it was so much more satisfying, because at that point, I believe the minister had something that forced her to cancel all of her healing and all about it, and she gave it up for another member of the team or something like that. I think, and because another member of the team was threatened by his ability to stop their entire thing. It might have been Akame versus Esther, and the fact that Akame would have outright died in that fight if she didn't have her sword's ability.
It's
and
good.
So,
yeah.
And so I feel free to slate me if I'm wrong, but she gives it up for much more of a reason. And when her death happens, she actively acknowledges it, and she's like, I lived for the fight of this revolution and everything. I'm nothing afterwards, and lets herself die because of that. And that's infinite more characterization than I'll just bleed to death in an alley.
Yeah, because I got that impression for when she bled to death was like, nah, fucking like this, like I am this rebellion.
I'm a fighter,
but like
I'm a fighter. That's all I'm there to live.
Yeah.
But like the other thing which I'll give a massive prop to this show for, which is something which I swear to fucking God, like anime just cannot get right for the most part. Araragi is also an example of this, which is a character. No, it's a good thing. Where the main character of Akama Ga Kill is a virtuous character that still has a character arc, which ends in him still being virtuous.
Yeah.
Araragi starts off as a nice person, has a good character arc, and ends as a nice person. I swear to fucking God, the amount of times I've seen anime basically unable to... Right, anime cannot decouple morality and character arc. Either you start evil, end good, start good, end evil, or if you are good at the start of the series, you are not allowed a character arc. I'm looking at you, Shiro Emiya. Like... Fucking so many shows
constantly bring this back to fate.
Well, it's just it's funnily enough, the thing with a shit ton of good characters is like well written characters.
And also the thing we all have in common.
And basically, and I think, but like,
three-part podcast.
but you know, for example, there's
This will
Bro.
probably be 3 parts as well.
Yeah, but there's Bro, who is a fantastic character in Akama Ga Kill, and he has a character arc. The problem is, he gets killed before he finishes his character arc, and it feels like that. It feels like he was making progress, and then fucking the main character takes on the mantle of fucking, I gotta be the dude to help people, and like, you know, he will kill people, and he laments the fact that he has to kill people, and is just, like, but not in like a bitchy way. Like, fucking, I don't know, like, it's just a really good show. Like, it's good character-driven action drama, and then dies.
I agree. They do skip one of the more intricate arcs that gives a lot more to the characterization. They skip one of the arcs, which is I forgot the name of it. It's been so long, but it's essentially one of the. Oh my god, I forgot so much about the show at this point. It's actually messing with me. It's like
If it's any consolation, I don't know anything about it.
the prince that kidnaps the green-haired guy. Whatever.
Anyway, go on.
Kidnaps him. He gains a personal army under him, basically, of people with imperial arms, and they are the biggest cunts ever. And you get some of them, and they're called. I think they might be called the Wild Hunt, same as the Witcher, actually, which is why I might have blanked it. But you've got some of the characters in it, and it's brutal with it. Like, one of them is a clown. And the clown has a set of juggling balls, and the juggling balls can be affected with any form of affinity, so like ice, fire, that sort of stuff, and be used to attack people with it. The clown is a straight-up paedophile. Like, hard.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, in this series, yeah, that's fine. Like, fucking.
Yeah.
That's expected.
And does shit that is absolutely reprehensible. And it goes through, but you miss the entire arc of these characters and the entire arc of this character running this set of shitlords that have been put together to specifically hunt down, you know, the group of rebels that is Tatsumi's group. And you go through, and one's in it that still resonates with me, that's a well-written scene, and yes, is there for shock value, and yes, is like a ridiculously evil scene, but is one that I still think adds so much because of just level of fuck these people. Because before they were doing terrible things and they were terrible people, they were there for a reason. However, it hits the point where there are. Do you two remember Bowles?
I remember. Motherfucker! I cried at Mr. Bowles' death.
Yeah, best boy flamethrower guy.
There's nothing wrong with his face. Whatever's wrong with his face, he has a wife and kid. You know.
It's his grave, and his wife and kid are there, and 2 people show up. I can't remember who the 2 are, but it's Pedo Clown and someone else. And Pedo Clown proceeds to rape Bowles' child on his own grave.
Yes.
And it seems excessive.
That does sound about right.
It seems excessive, but when you read the manga at that point, it's like, okay, because it doesn't go into graphic detail or anything like that. It just states what's happening and what's going on, and you go through and you feel that level of hatred these characters and for what's going on, and it gives you that level more of satisfaction when they're defeated and what happens. I totally understand why the arc was not adapted into anime, because it's such a harsh and cruel arc from what the people did, as they were all truly horrible people set to hunt down assassins for the Empire. They were the worst of the worst picked to hunt down for what the Empire saw as the worst of the worst, which made sense. But in the anime, it really does a good job of showing and contradicting the, you know, these people are awful, but they're the only people down the equivalent. And it just goes through and does such a good job of getting you.
It's very Akama Ga Kill. To be fair, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Like, the thing is, that show covers fucking around about similar stuff. It wouldn't surprise me if they cut out purely for timing's sake. And don't worry, that you're allowed to be annoyed at that. I have been annoyed at fucking arcs being cut out for time ever since the fucking To Kill a Mockingbird film, like back in the 60s.
God, I love that.
And they cut out the arc with fucking Miss Lafayette DeBose. You may as well just shat on the fucking film. Like, but nah, see, like, fucking, probably they just got rid of it for brevity.
This is a sophisticated podcast all of a sudden.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
we're just getting a bit of fucking non-weeb culture. Can you handle that, Hugh Sensei?
Dude, do you know what I'm doing right now while you guys talking about this?
Browsing anime IRL? I know I am.
I'm playing Granddaughter.
Alright, never mind, we're moving on. Alright, I've lost my fucking Akama Ga erection. I've lost my Akama Ga erection.
Pedo clown.
Don't worry, I've lost. Don't worry, Ben. Don't worry about it, because we can talk about Grand Order now. Grand Order.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm listening to you. I'm enjoying listening to you guys. It's interesting.
Other minor small things I will quickly list off.
Quickly.
Green hair
Before Hugh plays Grand Order again.
Instead of getting beat to death like a pussy, gets one of his balls crushed with a guy's bare hands, of which he immediately uses to turn around and snap the guy's neck. Then breaks out single-handedly and lets Tatsumi escape from torture while fighting off practically an entire army after having his ball crushed. And then dies.
Metal.
He's a fucking legend. Also, spoilers for the end of the anime and the end of the manga. Whoa. Mine and Tatsumi both live.
Okay.
Tatsumi turns into a full dragon, though, because the armor takes over him.
That is some awkward sex.
Oh, don't worry.
No, she's already pregnant.
No. It gets better. So she is already pregnant and has birth with one of their children. And then she comes around and he's already dragon by that point. And the epilogue states they had two children together, meaning she fucked the dragon version.
Yes, wolf children. Yes.
But genuinely, despite all the awkwardness and despite all the stuff, I think it is right. It's not a hardship at this point in the podcast that me and Lewis especially enjoy gritty, dark, actual, grounded in reality, bullshit level manga and anime. And Akama Ga Kill is one such one that is incredibly well done. However, the anime, and there is a reason for it, and I will give them this reason, that they ran out of content from the manga about 4/5 of the way through. The manga writer told them roughly what happened. However, they decided to very much concentrate on City become mech.
They interpreted that as what happened.
City become mech. We will kill off characters that don't actually die. We will also kill off main antagonist in an incredibly unsatisfying way. While the manga kill off of main antagonist, for me personally, as Sadist-chan, is very satisfying.
Yeah,
See,
I'm gonna read the manga at some point when I can find the time to do it, because it's actually something where I actually want to know how it's supposed to go.
You know the Shakespeare "a pound of flesh to you all."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, imagine that with the minister for every single person in the land as he's chained up, and everyone in the continent lines up for a pound of flesh.
Oh.
Man, that healing Imperial arm sure is swell, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Lewis.
That's my jam. To be fair, I think. By the way, I think we can all agree that most companies evidently have no fucking idea what they were doing. If they did know what they were doing, then they wouldn't shit the bed so hard when they ran out of source material.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I will say that now. Actually, like, just always be wary with adaptations about, like, wow, this is really fucking good, because you got shit like Devilman, which barely resembles the original. That's a good director. That's a person who knows what they're doing. You look at shit like Akama Ga Kill. That is where arguably the director is not good, because he has copied better answers, and then when he's told, "Oh, I didn't do the last question," he shits the fucking bed.
Once again, my prime example of my non-anime reference for this podcast, my worry for the final season of Game of Thrones, where they have been told what happens.
Well, you already had it on the previous season. That was also TV original. Like,
I enjoyed the previous one, however, I feel in pure territory, I worry slightly. Because it's an ending.
To be fair, the last season, one could almost say everything was fine. The pacing was a bit shot.
The pacing was incredible.
Yeah, no, it's like the pacing has gone to like 200 miles an hour.
This isn't a Game of Thrones cast.
Yeah. Anyway, I was about to say CGI dragons aside, this is not a Western animation podcast. Anyway,
you're right. It's CGI dolphins. Rin, go.
Oh,
I think there's a distinct thing about understanding that if something is a good adaptation does not mean it is a faithful adaptation.
No,
exactly.
A faithful adaptation can be good. A faithful adaptation can also not be good because people don't understand what particularly made, say, the original good, or the original just simply does not work in an animated medium.
Well,
so,
you have to understand what works in an animated medium and what doesn't. And sometimes when they've made a season 1, they don't understand what part of that season 1 was good and what part of that season 1 was bad. And then
we again come straight back to it. If you are shit, it does not matter what you are adapting; it will be shit.
Well, you've also got to account for what I call Berserk philosophy, which is Berserk and its infamous amount of, torture, gore, rape, that level of bullshit in its manga, which is done in a dark way, not in any form of fetish or ridiculous bullshit way. It's done in a way to actually show the darkness of the world and stuff like that. The amount of it that has to get cut from the manga, not from the manga, sorry, from the anime adaptations, is insane, because it's an incredibly dark show that has a lot of that stuff, but it's not necessarily a bad thing that they cut it. They had to cut it for reasons and have to work around it in that sort of way. And it's the same with like the Akama Ga Kill arc. Do I wish that arc was in? Yes, because it's such a heavy-hitting arc with a lot of emotional inputs and gives so many characters much more characterization. But at the same point, yes, I can understand why you don't want to play the child rapist arc,
Since it would probably put the rating up to like an 18 as well.
No, that would not put the rating under
unpublishable.
This is an unpublishable show. You have to buy it. That's the only way to watch it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. By the way, one thing which I will say about Berserk, which I do actually advise. One thing which I like about the 1997 version, and you really cannot replicate this, right? I watched the 1997 Berserk before I read the manga.
Oh, okay.
Completely blind. I didn't know anything about Berserk. I thought it was a bit dark, right? Imagine me. Nosferatu Zod seems a bit strange, but hell, this seems like a world with like a few strange creatures in it. That's fine. When the fucking eclipse happened, I damn near shat myself. What? Right. Imagine if you have no idea what the rest of Berserk is like, and that happens, and you're like, oh my god! I was like 16.
Berserk does taper you with the start of Berserk being Guts having sex with a woman. She turns into a demon. He shoots her in the face with his
blows her head off, which is such a context.
Then the next chapter is fucking Snake-chan is raiding village, who turns into a demon monster. The snake demon monster kills that. Then the one after that is weird rapist Caesar as he shows up to Griffith-Ukun and the God Hand at the end of it after destroying giant slug Caesar. At which point you get the flashback into Golden Arc, and so you very much know things are gonna get diddled.
If you do not know about the Black Swordsman arc or anything like that, going straight into it, that thing is like a complete full, oh my god, what the hell happened, just in the middle of it, because like there are so many. It literally does come almost out of nowhere. You just got Griffith having a bit of his emotional kind of, what am I going to do with my life? Oh god, everything's going wrong. And Apocalypse.
Dude, he's it's so unjustified.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what the fuck?
He's so unjustified because he's proved that he has people rallying around him still, even in the state he's in. But he decides that it's not worth being.
No,
in
right,
the state he's in.
right, yeah. Let's not talk too much about it purely because we can summarize this quite easily with Griffith is a very effective villain who is evil, and always has been.
Lewis,
evil without realizing he's evil.
Lewis, Detroit Todd did nothing wrong.
Listen, do you want to know who the real hero of fucking Berserk is?
Connor from Detroit Become Human.
No, don't be ridiculous, Ben. That would be ridiculous. No, it's fucking.
Is it
Bazuzo.
Farnese-sama?
No, it's Bazuzo. If none of you remember that quality character, I invite you to go and fucking read up on your Berserk, you fucking scrub.
Dude, Hugh, I am actually upset you suggested it was Farnese.
Oh, that's because he RP'd Farnese, but that's a story for another time.
What?
Ben, please talk more about your fucking television programs.
Right.
Alright, cool. Next one, straight up, it's a very easy one.
Well, Ben died for me.
Yeah,
Sorry, I think
he
I
said
died
Spice
forever.
and Wolf is what he said.
Spice and Wolf. An easy one.
It's
It's
an
pretty
excellent
good.
adaptation.
Spice and Wolf is an outlandishly good show. It's about a wolf and a guy who is just a traveling merchant, and he comes across this wolf god one day who has been abandoned by her people practically, and they make fun of her.
Everyone will know what fucking Spice.
Everyone does now. It's economics with wolf boobies, apparently, is the way it's described, but it's actually just, an incredibly intricate and wonderful show and a relationship between a merchant and a goddess who still work together.
Kraft Lawrence's voice actor in the dub is a fucking treasure. J. Manning Tatum. I think that's about it,
actually
really.
is. It actually is.
It's a shame there isn't more seasons.
Spice and Wolf is fantastic.
Next anime television program.
The actual light novel is brilliantly done. It does a really good job, and every season they seem to end on a decent cliffhanger and decent set. The first season ended at the perfect point to end that show. The second season ended at a point of make season fucking 3, which apparently is never happening, despite the fact that the light novel is ridiculously popular. And the fact that the people that have watched the anime who haven't watched the light novel also desperately want
I love
season
watching.
3.
I love watching light novels.
Hugh, do you want to try that to the 90th time?
Damn, all right, mate.
All right.
No, I own all the light novels because I own the massive book, the collector's edition thing.
Oh, I was gonna buy that.
I don't know. I was really lucky that I managed to get it because Amazon was just like, I ordered it and it was like, oh, it's sold out, so we can't give it to you. And I was like, okay, and I ignored it for like 6 months, and then 6 months later it just turned up, and I was like, wait, what?
Hugh, you should have $1 for that, surely.
What with my grand order money?
Oh, to be fair, you spent it all on
You're
you.
right. He's got to buy his lollies.
Where's that sweet physics bursary money?
Christ.
Yeah,
Anyway.
So
But yeah, it seems to end in decent ways. And the first season, they very much ended in a way where it could have ended and just be left to your imagination nicely. And people would have asked for a season 2, of course, but it still ended in a way that people would have been like, no, that's still a good ending. Well, season 2, however, they decided for the regards of the ending, and then just decided, nah, never a season.
So Lewis,
No.
Fire Punch.
Right. Here we go. Actually, yeah, I will now dig deep and get my resolve of energy. Now, so Fire Punch is a manga I really like. I saw it in Waterstones, and fucking when like a title and the way the font is made just fucking leaps at you. Like that was one of those. I looked at that and I was like, that looks like my jam. Picked it up, read it. It's got everything. Like first fucking chapter has got fucking cannibalism, incest, bestiality appears later on in it. Fucking And critically, the premise of it is the world has been made very, very cold, and it's in like a permanent ice age, and everyone is fucking mental. Literally, everyone is mad, and everyone's got superpowers, and they're called blessed. And it follows Agni, who's got the blessed ability to infinitely regenerate. He then meets Doma, who's got the blessed ability to make fire that will never go out until the fuel has been burned. Agni gets burned by this fire and is in a constant regenerating hell of endless fire, and he becomes the Fire Punch.
I'm looking at images of it. On
Google
now, and it looks awesome.
It's fucking cool. Basically, it's Agni on his fucking. It starts as his quest for revenge, and eventually he begins to bring hope to the people of this frozen world. As like these are like the yearning, the masses, the starving masses yearn for fire, and basically, like in the most recent one, he fucking he gets into a fight with a guy in a mech suit who's got the blessed ability to fucking generate as much muscle. He gets punched through an entire city block. And he sets fire to everything along the way and burns down the city. It's that kind of fucking it's that kind of fucking manga. There's a man who wears pants on his head who judges people unworthy and then beats them to death with a baseball bat. There's a woman who rides a katana around while wearing a bikini. It's that kind of fucking weeb shit. And I started with Fire Punch when we were talking about this podcast because it was all about adaptations, and I thought about the whole Berserk thing. And Fire Punch is something to see adapted in just every single way, but at the same time it is a manga which is primarily fairly still shots of most of the series is snow, obviously because it's this fucking ice age, so most of the shots are pure white with some detail in the terrain, and then all the detail is on the people and the machines and the buildings. So this is made by a guy who presumably is very bad at fucking background art, so decided not to bother. And it's really fucking good though. And the basic issue is that, of course, you sat there and you're thinking, how the fuck do you adapt something which is mainly an angry-looking man who is constantly on fire, walking at the camera and then punching people to death with never-ending flames? It sounds like a good idea, and then you're like, how do you stretch this to 20 minutes an episode? I just wanted to open the floor really, and just sort of strategies for adapting this sort of not slow show per se, but definitely a show which is a lot more still shots than it is motion.
I think you've got to essentially try and make it a lot more artistically visual. I think you've got to make it a visual show. If you're going to adapt something like this, the way you described it, this has got to be a show which is going to be focusing on the visuals. You can't focus too much on the plot or kind of the voice acting. You got to make it an experience to view. You got to make it the Land of the Lustrous style thing where everything is just gorgeous looking.
The plot
that's the best way you can do it.
Yeah, the plot is complete schlock, obviously. But yeah, it is complete fucking schlock. But just do you think it would just be entirely for the visuals? Because I can understand that.
I don't think it'd be entirely for the visuals, but the visuals potentially you have to stand up and kind of hold it to account. I think that would be where you'd have to essentially focus on most of your things, because just from the look of what I've seen, it seems very much that it is a show which specifically looks at the shots of people and your main character and the situation above anything else. So I think you really have to kind of understand where you do that, where do you put the plot into it, how do you do it. And I think it has to be a lot of wide shot, it has to be a lot of fluid motion with the character movements and that sort of thing.
Yeah, see, almost the weird thing is that it's oddly comedic for a fucking manga in that as everyone is stark raving mad, and I actually read an article where someone said this is a comedy and everyone seems to be forgetting that, and he was right, because the traditional fucking anime scene where people are playing in the fucking beach, they're playing in the water, they're chasing each other around, right? Classic scene. Yeah. In Fire Punch at one point they go to a frozen sea and it features one character chasing another to try and grab someone's decapitated head. and they are still splashing each other with water and shit, and like that scene happens, and then like there's a cooking scene where they are cooking with Agni's regenerated flesh, and some of the lines are like fucking, I knew that your connective tissue would be the tastiest bit, or my personal favorite, which is, but I'm young, so I will be tender and scrumptious, and just like it is as you'd say, like the fucking like you've read it, haven't you, Ben?
I have.
It's right at the beginning where Luna's just like, we need to eat my arms too, brother. It is absolutely crazy.
That reminded me of like a show, but the one where the girl is a monster, and her brother volunteers her to Pooper. Yes. Oh man, that show was fucking. Oh, that was something.
That's a bad adaptation of a
manga. It is. Now, anyway, I'm about to press enter because I've been saving this because I wanted Hugh to finish.
What's it called?
The Pooper. Pupa. But yeah, anyway, Lewis, there you go. There's my opinion on what Fire Punch possibly could be. I think if you adapt it in the same way as Mirai Nikki, you use this ED as a basic. For anyone interested, Mirai Nikki ED number 2. If you use that as
still shots, walking shots,
as a baseline for the characterization of the main character, but then stick with the main sort of style that Mirai Nikki goes with, I think it would work.
Oh, I just read the description of Pupa. Yeah, that sounds pretty rad.
I like that we just had 5 seconds of complete silence while everyone was just reading or watching something on this podcast where we're supposed to be talking.
Well, I can't watch that because if I watch it, it goes on the podcast. So.
Oopsie daisy.
It saves editing.
I was just double checking it, but yeah, no, you are quite right there, Ben. You are quite right. Like that, it's the kind of still shots that you need, just clever camera work, and everything else needs to be pretty good. That was all really. I think that's everything that we all have really, and by the sounds of things, Alastair is losing the will to live as well. So
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, you could literally go on this topic forever.
You could.
Yeah, I think we've come to the same conclusions just about everyone else in the world has.
What? Good adaptations are good, bad adaptations are bad.
No. Just good people will make good things. Bad creators will make bad things, and critically, pacing seems to be the one murderer of all of these shows.
That's a fairly apt roundup.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's pacing issues, always pacing.
I think we can all agree Hinamatsuri is the best of us.
Mm-hmm.